Okay. I'll keep it brief. Nazir Siddiqui, as we just restarted recording. I'm a director of business application with Rubrik Inc. And prior to that, I have been associated with Meta, director at a business application with Marvell, Oracle, and few other companies in last 20 plus years. And I'm blessed to be part of this community, blessed to be part of this group, helping each other with this initiative, and really appreciate all of you being part of it and helping the community grow with the job, with mentorship, with coaching, as well as the training and upgradation. Inshallah, we will have our tech meet soon, and we will be sending an invite to you. So today I would love to introduce our Jahidul Islam Bhai. He is a dedicated mentor, educator, DevOps thought leader. Currently, he is working as a system development engineer at Amazon, and he has over 6 years of experience coaching and mentoring at Izan School. Some of you may have already aware about that. It's a very reputed training classes. Last year, he has launched his boutique recruiting firm as well, Connect Talent, to help employee and job seeker connect. Through his work, he's intended to make a significant impact to the people life. And I really, really personally appreciate Jahidul Bhai, you reaching out and offering this as well as few other training courses. So with that, I will pass it over to Jahidul Bhai. What I'll do is I will send a survey towards the end of it to get your quick feedback on what went well and what are the things we can improve. And really appreciate you take a minute or two to complete that. With that, turning over to you.
So again, my name is Jahidul Islam. I'm currently working at Amazon as a system dev engineer. I worked for in AWS, and now I'm currently work for Amazon corporate. We say corporate or global engineering, some different team. So I have worked in multiple team at Amazon. That's a simple intro on that. Other than that, on the side, I also run a bootcamp school. I run a recruiting firm. So there are a couple of things I do. I'm a passionate mentor or coach. I have been coaching people over near about six years, over 2.5K hours of mentoring I have done in the past. So in various disciplines, including DevOps, cloud computing, and QA automation, things like that, and interview coaching, especially including FANG companies. So that's about me. And I appreciate and thank you all for being here. And I wanted to thank Najib Bhai for giving me this opportunity to talk to you guys and pass what I know. I just wanted to set the expectation in a right level, right? This is a very short time, 2 hours. We have sent you a form, and you have filled that form with your pain point and with a question you have in mind, right? I have aggregated that data, and I have classified those questions in a different categories. So there are 8 categories, and we have top listed like 3 or 4 questions from each categories. So throughout the session, actually, I'll be answering your question, but in a more disciplined manner. We expect that at the end, there will be 15-20 minutes more time for you to ask any new question if you have, or if you are not satisfied with the answer we have provided. Definitely chat box is open. You can go ahead and write questions in the chat. But if I don't respond to that immediately, please excuse me. I will take some time later on at some point, or maybe some organizer can also help me out to point some questions so then I can answer. If I cannot answer within this time frame, I'll be answering that one towards the end. Okay. So that's actually a small housekeeping, small intro. We will start into the So, the title is how to find a job, right? It is a really burning question. It's a really, really bit different time than many, like maybe 5 years or 2 years back, the situation was very different. Even during pandemic, the situation was extremely different. There were a lot of jobs, people are getting jobs, doing remote work, flying here and there, but the situation has changed, right? We will see how the situation has changed, how it has been impacting us, and how we can really navigate it, right? We have to live, we have to work, we have to earn money, right? So we just need to find out a right way to do on there, right way to approach, right? So moving ahead, right? Najib Bhai finished with his introduction. I just spoke about myself a little bit, and then these are the agendas, right? We are done with the introduction and welcome. So when we categorized all your question, right, we found there are a lot of question on resume building. There are questions on interview preparation and strategies. We found there are questions on job search techniques. career transitions and advancement. So some of you have asked that you wanted to move from here to some other positions, that what really you can do, right? That type of questions we also had. We saw people are talking about, they wanted to know the market insight, really what's going on in the market, what we really know, and things like that. There are few questions, I think we must address and answer. Professional development and other concerns. Some people, they really want to, start from zero, or maybe they wanted to advance something in their career. So there are few questions on that area as well. There are few questions on specific challenges and requests, and also there are few questions we found which is about work authorization and visa issues, right? So I wanted to, very fast, and I wanted to give a disclaimer. I'm not someone who expert in the area of these immigration issues, or maybe H1B and other issues. I do not claim expertise on that area. There may be many other brothers who has been, who has been in that journey. Maybe they can help at some point. If you come through our WhatsApp and ask them questions and things like that, you'll get better sight. But I can give, just small light on that. I'll try to do that, but I'm not expert in that area, at least. So I wanted to definitely make sure that I set the right expectation to all of you, right? We will share few list of resources. I think these are common resources, many of you know, but we will talk about that. Going ahead, first topic is resume building. So, before you want to go to job, definitely you need a resume. You need a piece of paper where you define who you are, what you have done in the past. That's the true definition of your resume, right? You need to define or document who you are, what you have achieved technically, right? And then these are the questions we have, right? Number one question we have: how can I ensure my resume reaches hiring managers in the current tech market, right? Very tough question, right? Because you need to put your resume to hiring manager, because you need to get a interview call, right? So technically, you're saying that, hey, how do I really craft my resume in order this resume to be read by a hiring manager? So let's classify a few things here. Let's mention a few things here. Number one thing is big companies, right? The big companies has a different process. Smaller companies has a different process. When I define big and smaller, like say a company has 50 employees or 100 employees or 200 employees, they have one procedure in place. A company actively hiring 500, 5,000 or 1,000, let's say 500 and above, or 1,000 and above, or 2,000, 3,000 employees, they have actually different hiring mechanism. This is not exactly same mechanism, right? So let's start with the bigger companies, right? Bigger companies will go through much more automated fashion to filter your resume. They heavily invest on their talent acquisition. They have their hiring team. Even they take the external vendors, right? Or external recruiters, or external source of getting those resources. So in order to filter those people, they have a different mechanism in place, multi-layer mechanism, right? One of the mechanism is automated mechanism, right? We all know that ATS, right? Some form of automated software where they part your resume, and then that software says, hey, these are top 10 resumes, right? So, and I would like to talk about that questions a little bit later. There is a question we already received that about ATS, that how do we can make our resume ATS friendly. So I will answer that question in that segment. But now, if you come back to the smaller size company where it is not very likely that they will use ATS, they will invest on that, like 50 people or 100 people or 200 people, or a startup, right? Maybe 30 people or 35 people companies. This type of small companies, usually they do not have ATS. Usually many of them, they do not have a, talent acquisition team, right? They depend on external sources like us, or like any other recruiting firm, right? So now here is the point, right? Now some of the recruiting firm, those who are really large, for example, Robert Half, for example, TCS, Cognizant, and they have their procedures to filter. They definitely have their ATS and all that stuff. But now when you talk about a smaller recruiting firm, boutique recruiting firm, they are just like maybe a small number of employees. They do not deal with a very big volume of resumes. It is easy to knock in their door, right? It is easy to knock because they work with a small volume, right? You are bypassing the ATS. You're going to those recruiters and telling them that, hey, maybe looks like you are a smaller firm. You don't say you're a smaller firm, but if you can identify those who are smaller recruiting firm, they may help you faster in terms of placing you in a smaller companies, right? But in terms of bigger companies, there are too many layers, right? If there is in a smaller for a smaller company, the hiring process, maybe you may have one recruiter and one hiring manager, very straight, like there is not much layers in between. right? Easy to crack. And then also some startup companies, they really like to hire directly from their website. So if you can really go interrogate their website and find out that, hey, this company is hiring and they are like a small company. And how do you know they're a small company? If you go to LinkedIn page of their LinkedIn page, you will see actually there is a tab called like the company size. You will get to know really how many people they have, like 50 people, 30 people, 20 people. That way you get to know their size, right? So it's not that tough. So you go to the company website, you find out their LinkedIn profile, and then look at how many employees they have. To reach out those hiring managers, I'm talking about the smaller size company. The easy way to go there, direct websites, references. Maybe there are some websites where you'll find only startup companies, so the smaller companies. So one thing you can do, that there will be less layer between you and the hiring manager for the smaller companies. That's like clue number one. Then number two, definitely networking and all that stuff you have in your list. For bigger companies, definitely you have to be a little bit more cognizant. You have to have your resume a little bit better or smart, or ATS compliant, so that you can bypass that ATS. So we'll talk about that, next. If we come back to the next, how can I make my resume ATS friendly, right? So there is this website called jobscan.com. The link will be given at the end. You can also search now jobscan.com. If you go to jobscan.com, there are a few more, right? Jobscan.com is kind of free. You can do at least 5 or 6 scan. So I think you don't need more than 5 review, 5-time scanning of your resume to identify. So as soon as you upload your resume in jobscan.com, they will actually tell you that, hey, these are the keywords, like your resume is 85% ATS friendly, your resume is 50% ATS friendly, and these are the keywords you may have to change and adjust. So there's a little bit better way to identify, but I won't suggest or recommend you to be fully dependent on that AI suggestion or their software suggestion. I would still use my brain to understand that what I am writing in my resume, and what should I avoid writing in my resume, right? What should I write and what should not I write? That should be one of my big concern, right, in terms of my resume, right? So I will, but still, that jobscan.com, like software like jobscan.com, can really help you out to give you an initial idea that, hey, my resume is not so far, is 60 or 70% ATS friendly, so you should be like quite happy or unhappy, right? In some cases, you will see your resume is 10% ATS friendly. If it is 10% ATS friendly, then there's a big problem, right? So you will have to really identify those. You take those suggestions, try to rewrite your resume a little bit here and there, and see if it works, right? So that's one of the things. There are common ATS friendly format. It can be a little bit different software to software, but most of the software, like, they will be looking for Word format or PDF format, and it's better not to go. There are many other resume format, not to go those abnormal formats, right? So these are like very basic ATS friendly resume tips I can give. Use software, use these few key items and things like that, so that can help you out to identify, right? And then there is something we wanted to move on to next question, where we say, how can I highlight my skills and quick learning ability on my resume despite limited experience? Now, some of you may not have big exposure in the industry, right? Maybe you have done an internship 5 months, or maybe you have done a 1-year work or things like that. So you're still you're confused that how do I really show my work, right? So there are a couple of ways, right? One way is to show your existing project you have done. So I am assuming many of you are in tech, maybe a developer, maybe some form of techy things you are doing, right? So in that case, it's important that you take up a projects and you write about that project in your GitHub project, in your GitHub repo, right? In your README file, write details about that. If you are not using GitHub, maybe you are a little bit in a slightly different track within the industry, go write a little blog on that, right? Have your Medium blog, and then write in the Medium blog about the project you have done, right? This is a timestamp. It talks about that a person is interested and he learned something and he also wanted to pass this to people, right? So this is a very positive attitude people will take in account, is because now again, in your resume, you're not going to link them, right? But imagine when you share this thing in your LinkedIn profile, people knows that, oh, this guy writes something in Medium, right? So as you grow your LinkedIn connections, these people will keep remembering you. Okay, hey, this guy is really active on this matter, right? Maybe you are cybersecurity expert, or you wanted to pursue cybersecurity route. So you are learning something basic and fundamental or foundational. Go ahead, write about it, or maybe talk about it if you can. But if you cannot talk about it, at least write about it. If you write and publish in a free places like medium.com, or maybe you can create your own Substack, right? We do have a Substack website called yourlifeinsights.com. You can go there. I do write there whatever I like to write. So these are the things can really, increase your credibility among your network, which is I'm fully talking about LinkedIn network, right? So these are few ways you can really, demonstrate your projects. And when you start talking to your recruiter, right? Because recruiter is the first person, or HR is the first person you'll be interacting with. So if you talk to your recruiter, make sure that you talk about whatever you have done. This is a small project, right? Make sure that things you have done, even in training, or maybe in classroom, or maybe you have done a big program in Udemy or whatever, have a nice phrase written that what really you have done, what was the outcome. When I say outcome, it means maybe you have done a project on, let's say, cloud computing, for example. So you tell about that project. I have done these and these projects, and it is capable of doing this and that, right? I took my interest to learn cloud computing, and this is what I have achieved. Write it in a nice and in a nice way. And nowadays you have various ways to make your things nicer, right? You can use any GPT apps, or any generative AI's app, and you can just say, hey, write your 4 lines, right, in your own words. Don't write it in a chat GPT language. Write it in your own language. Once you write it, put it him and ask him that, hey, chat GPT, I need your help to write my resume. Rephrase my statement so that it is more more appealing to a hiring manager or recruiter. So those generative AI apps, I don't want to promote only chat GPT, because I'm from Amazon, so I should promote Anthropic, or Amazon supported one. But again, that's jokes apart. So you can use those to really rephrase your statement. But one thing you need to keep in mind, that your statement has to be quantifiable. We should be able to understand exactly what you have done, right? Sometimes we use the word we have done, my team has done. Yes, you can use it 1-2 words, but not in your entire resume. When we look your resume, we really want to see what you have done, what you have achieved. Pinpoint that, right? Even in a big projects, you have a contribution. Talk about that this was a project, and this is what I have contributed. I have worked with the 4 teams or 5 team members. Maybe you are a fresh graduate. You may have done a project in the college, right? Make sure you talk about that project in a way that you also show the impact, right? If this project goes in a real world, it can put this impact. So keep this one very precise, 2-3 lines, highlight that type of things, right? But don't talk about very basic thing. I know A, I know B, I know C. I think no one is interested to know, let's say, A or B or C. They wanted to know a complete outcome you have achieved through certain process, right? Like, I have built an web applications with a database, and so, and it can handle this many people. That sounds like a little bit interesting. And I have used this many, these are the cloud services to build that. That's mainly very meaningful, because when you'll be doing any sorts of, I would say, in any program like that, right, there will be a project. They will give you a project. Even you go with them or anywhere, or teachers, or wherever you go, there will be some form of projects. Try to define that, try to talk about that, right? So I'll move on to the next, right? So again, just to summarize, whatever you are doing in your personal life, whatever doing in your school, college, have something, quantifiable. Define it nicely. Just don't say 1 line, I have done this. There is no meaning. Okay, no one can really get a value out of your statement. I think all these things I have discussed above, these are all a key element of a successful resume. Addressing what you have done, addressing things which is quantifiable, addressing which is actually sending a meaningful message. One thing I just wanted to clarify, everyone, right? I have seen, like, the people, I think there are people from various disciplines. So I'm trying not to call out only single, role, like developer or QA or DevOps, but still I will use some example, but I will try to give this answer in a more generic way so that everyone gets benefit out of it. Okay. Is there any question in the chat? Okay, I think the question here I see which can add value is, what is the best way to highlight non-tech experience, right? It's a great question. Many of you may be coming from non-tech, but one thing you need to understand that uh, as an employer, right? If you want to switch to certain area, right? It's great to have a non-tech experience, but if it is far from like what you will be doing, it's better to keep it. It's better not to expose. That's my opinion. Okay. Now I have many reasons why I'm giving this opinion, right? It will become very deep discussion. I have been in merchant marine over 10 years before being into tech. So I think I have come through, I have made this journey from extremely non-tech, from very different field to tech, right? So I hasn't actually utilized my 10 years of marine career when I applied for tech jobs. The reason is, you may end up getting lots of unnecessary questions which you really don't want. If you have like one bootcamp experience, 6 month internship experience, and I think that may not be enough. But again, if I am you, I would have avoided writing very much drastically different non-tech experience. Now let us say that you are coming from bank, right? Financial domain, and you have a huge financial expertise. Maybe you are now transitioning to business analyst, maybe you are transitioning to data analyst or data analytics route, right? I think there is a very legitimate way to articulate your financial experience, because if you now look for financial domain data analytics role, now you may be able to you may become able to utilize your financial domain expertise. So it's a very case by case things. But one thing very simple: if it is radically different from where you are coming, then it's better to keep it quiet. That's my personal opinion, right? It is not a, you all have to do it, but it's my opinion, and that's how I coach my own students and what my mentees. And I have done exactly same thing, right? You won't be finding my merchant marine experience in my LinkedIn profile. These are all my tech experiences. But it doesn't mean that I'm not proud of what I have done in the past. But we all are, we all have some affection with things we have done in the past. But you have to understand that where you are standing, what you really want to achieve at this point. I hope that answers the question, Sajid. Okay, so this is a quick time check. I will answer this question last for this segment, and then we will move on. Maybe we can come back and later on we can talk about those questions. What are the best ways to explain your experience on the projects that you have done in university? As I have explained a few minutes ago, right? Try to have a project which is meaningful, which is impactful. Because whatever the project you do in university, most likely this is a POC, proof of concept. This is not a full-fledged production component, right? So if it is not a production component, then try to articulate in a way that, hey, I have done this, and in a small scale it can do this and that, and it has a capability to scale out, right? We have tested with maybe 50 people or 100 people, but we have all the plan in place to scale it out. That's one way. Another way, when you are in university, I would highly recommend and encourage that you do your pet project, right? When I say pet project, go ahead, do something by your own, right? Go ahead, work with your brother, sister, anyone you know in the network, that hey, you do this work, can I do with you? Can I volunteer with you? Things like that. Maybe if you are actively in a mosque community, almost every mosque require volunteers in tech. Go ahead and involve with them, right? See how they build these small things, right? Those can be your real world project, and articulate them, define it in your resume. No harm. You still have full right to go in the open world and learn. That's what you should do when you are in the university. That would be my strong recommendation, right? You should have pet project. That's what we say, right? Side project or a hobby project, right? You can also do it commercially, right? You can also do some form of freelancing in a small hour, like 20 hours, 10 hours. If you can find out that time, go to some freelancing websites, learn some small skill, try to sell your skill there, right? If you can continuously sell a small skill, and then from there you can go ahead with a large skill, right? You can see many other technical skills are there, gain them, and then sell them. Now when you start selling them, actually you start earning or learning those skill set. So I would say, like, when you are in a university, do your university project. Make sure it is meaningful. Don't choose something very easy which you can copy paste and do it. Make sure that you find joy. You think you can take credit of what you are doing, right? Just don't do it for your semester, or don't do it just because you have to submit things. If you don't find joy, I think I would rather leave that and fail on that. I don't suggest you to fail, but um, I would have made my best effort to have a meaningful project, right? And then when you will try to do meaningful project, one of the biggest struggle you'll face, like technological struggle, right? So then reach out to your known people, right? Maybe in a mosque, maybe in I have been in ICBC. There are so many brothers who can really direct you, tell you, hey, do this and do that, right? So I think almost every communities there are people. You just need to look around and ask help from them, right? That can help you out to really have something in your resume, something nice before you pass out. Interview preparation and strategies, right? So now here is the key factor, right? Before even I move into the questions you guys have asked to us, I want you to understand what is interview. Some people think it's a one-way road. It's not a one-way road. It's a two-way road. It's a discussion. It's a communication between 2%, 3%, or 4%, or 5%, or with a board. It's a conversation. No matter you are going for a highly technical role, no matter you are going for a very small role, it is a conversation. It is a nice formal conversation, quote unquote formal, right? Because not all the time we do have a formal conversation. It's a meaningful conversation. So just have a mindset that I'm going for a meaningful conversation. So that will reduce your pressure, number one, right? Many people, they get even fever, right? They feel very much worried when they go for interviews, right? But you need to have such a mindset that I'm ready for interview every day, right? Okay, tomorrow I have interview, no issues. I'll go ahead and sit down and talk, because interview is nothing but conversation between two person, sending your message, what you know, sending not what you know, what they want to know. You make sure that you send those messages. What they don't want to know, you don't want to send those messages, right? If someone is looking for software dev, you don't want to talk with them psychology, right? You don't want to talk with them your philosophy with them, right? So so interview is a conversation, a two-way conversation, right? They ask you things, you ask you things. So reduce your pressure at the first point. That's the number one things I would say, right? I have seen many people, hey, I have an interview tomorrow or day after tomorrow, or maybe next week, I'm doing lots of study. Why? If you're someone from real world, why do you have to sit down and do interview preparation? If you would have done your real work in the past, then you really don't have to sit down and prepare for interview, because the interview itself is all about talking about what you have done in the past. Yes, now there is an exception. What is the exception? Maybe you're going for a very competitive interview where you will be asked huge programming challenges, right? You may want it to brush up your programming knowledge, right? You may want it to, if you go for FANG and other interviews, you may want to definitely, if you are not writing code all the time, you may want it to brush up, right? So that's a different area. But most other things, right? Even in a FANG, right? The coding challenges are 20% or 25% of the entire interview, or maybe 30%. It depends company to company. So what you are doing 70%. 70%, you are just making a conversation about things you have done in the past. So you have to be a good storyteller. If you want to be good at interview, be a good storyteller. Talk to your friends, tell them what you know, tell them what you have done. If you can explain them, if you can really make them understand that what you can really do, I think you are just ahead of time. So all I'm trying to make sure that you have to reduce the pressure out of your shoulder. If you cannot reduce the pressure out of your shoulder, you cannot really do well in any interview, because you'll be under pressure. Interview itself a pressure. So you already took a burden in your head even before going to interview. That means you are putting yourself already behind, even you started talking with them. So what's the point? There is no point, right? So we don't want to take those extra burden, right? So let's move ahead and see the questions you guys have asked. So how can I crack in a multi-round interview, right? So let's look at, then there is a second question, how can I secure a first interview? Then you have another question, what strategies can help me succeed in interviews? And what are effective preparation for technical interviews? I hope if we answer 1, 2, and 3, all of them will be more or less answered. So how can I crack in a multi-round interview, right? So when we say multi-round interview, what really we refer to? We refer to some companies, they have 3 to 4 rounds of interviews, sometimes 5 rounds of interviews, right? For example, in Amazon, there will be actually total, some people, they go through 6 rounds, including online test. Some people go through 5 rounds, right? So you may end up with 5 to 6 rounds of interviews, including online assessment and all that, based on which role you are in. If you're very junior role, you will have to go through some online assessment. And if you are a little bit if you're in a senior role, you really don't have to. Maybe you will be doing more into different 5 rounds of things like that. So those multi-round interviews are definitely high voltage, right? In some companies, those interviews are 3 voltage. There are few things I wanted to really make sure you understand, right? For companies like FANG companies, it is already well defined. They will give you instructions, suggestions, and guidelines that who will take what type of interview. Is this going to be a coding challenges, or is this going to be only some form of behavioral and other principle related questions, right? Again, those are still technical discussion, but it is not a pure coding. So that structure is well defined. You will get more or less information from your recruiters. If you don't get, ask them, they will give you. Now those, like, let's talk about the rest of the companies, right, outside FANG, right? Regular companies, if they have 3 interviews, you really do not know what is their plan. So you really have to know what is their plan. So make sure you talk to your recruiter, maybe HR or whoever, that can you explain me what will be in my interview 1 and 2 and 3? Yeah, you have full right to know what type of interview it will be, whether it is a technical interview or it is just a chit chat 5 minutes or a screening interview, or there will be coding and whatnot. So you interrogate your your hiring manager or your HR or point of contact, whoever is your point of contact for that particular things, right? So that's like number one thing. That way you can really prepare well. If you know this is a coding things, you can heavily invest on coding, right? If you know this is a technical, fully technical, then make sure you read the requirement properly, have a question set ready for that, predict a question set, right? That's what I usually suggest people, right? If you know the job requirement, based on the job requirement, you can predict the question set that, hey, they may ask me this type of question, right? And based on job requirement as well as based on your resume, there are two things actually. So you have to combinedly think these two and then find out a predicted questions, so that you can do a little bit preparation before the time, right? But again, I would say, right, if you have a good command over your own over your own resume, you should be able to talk about that. You need to understand that very, very well. It doesn't matter is which round, is a technical round, coding round, or maybe a behavioral round, right? So for multi-round, you take one at a time. You don't think about 5. You have one round today, calm down. This is about what? Screening. Prepare for it. Second round, technical, plus coding. Get maximum information out of recruiter. Prepare according to that. Second round finished. Don't think about first round. Don't think about future round. So take one at a time. That would be my suggestion here. And if it is like in one go, 5 interviews or 4 interviews, you may end up in some companies. Make sure you ask some time, right? If you feel you are really tired and exhausted, you tell them, hey, can I get 5 minutes? I want to drink some water. I want to maybe take some coffee. Can I take some tea? No harm. You can ask, right? In some interviews, like in FANG, they take 4 hours. Sometimes they give a break, half an hour, 20 minutes. But if there are good interviewers, they will actually give you time. They will ask you that, hey, do you want to take 5 minutes break? But if no one is asking and you are too tired and exhausted, please make sure that you ask that question. Right? You request the time. Give me 5 minutes. Give me 6 minutes or 3 minutes. I want to just grab a glass of water or whatever water bottle you have. Just drink some water, right? So you feel a little bit better. So take one at a time. Take some break if possible. Make sure you are fully aware that who is going to take the interview and what will be the interview topic. You don't have to know what they will ask. You want to know the pattern, right? And another way I can surely suggest that you can predict that what type of interview you'll be facing. Make sure you ask your recruiter who will be interviewing. Get the name. Go to their LinkedIn profile, and there are many ways to find it. The company name, you can find that in their page, you can find it in LinkedIn. So find that person, see what is that person's capability, look at their past experience, the current capacity in that company. That way you can easily know which direction they will go, right? So if you see someone is like not heavily a developer, right, they may not ask you very much technical things, maybe, right? This is just a prediction. When you make this type of prediction, you find a little bit comfortable. You are well aware about that person, right? And when you go start making a conversation, maybe you can use some of his information to do ice breaking things. So knowing your interviewer gonna help you as well. Moving ahead, how can I secure a fast interview? Oh, this is a very tough question, right? So I'm assuming that you are fresher, you never been in market, and you are looking for the first interview, right? You have to activate all your weapons. All I refer to, you have to activate your all the networks, people, your LinkedIn profile. Get connected as much people as you can. Try to be a little bit active in LinkedIn. Try to talk about something. Try to write something. That's my strong recommendation. So that way you can find some benefit out of out of your first job search, but it is definitely hard. But again, I would say applying as much as you can in a scheduled manner in a day. Keep some hours only to apply, right? Keep some hours only to network, connect, ask people, do you have job, in some nicer way and better way, what you can learn by yourself as well. So moving ahead, there is no solid way to say, hey, this is how I can secure my first job. I don't know really. So you have to trigger all your weapons. That's the only thing we can mention, right? So these are few bullet points. So as I have mentioned in last 2-3 questions, right? What strategies can help me to succeed in the interviews, right? One of the biggest thing in interview, right? People really want to understand your achievement, your capacity, right? So you really need to talk about your capacity. You really need to, it's not like you are taking some other people's credit. Make sure you give right credits to the right people, right? So if you have worked in a larger project, your team member has credit, give them credit, but make sure you specify what you have done, right? So talking about, I would say, your own capacity in a very meaningful and transparent way, and not always you are perfect, right? So there will be a case for you to really acknowledge your weakness, no matter what. Acknowledge your weakness, talk about that. So think when someone is hiring, right? They're not hiring a robot, they're hiring a human. So when they hire a human, they really want you to understand you have a human like attitude. As a human, you will make mistake, right? You will be a team member of the person who is hiring you, most likely, or most likely not, maybe his colleagues, his coworkers. And are you a good team player? We really want to understand that, right? Not only your capacity. Some people can be very, very good in what they're doing, but they may not be a good team player. If this is being identified during interview process, there is a high chance you will be eliminated. There is extremely high chance, right? Because no one want to create a bad team environment and then end up with lots of frustration and increased hiring time. So they really wanted to hire someone who is right. What strategies can help me to succeed interviews? That's all. Just we just finished with that. What are effective preparation for technical interviews? First, again, I wanted to reiterate, if you're some technical, if you are in development, DevOps, QA, or any of these roles, any of this nature, cybersecurity engineer, or whatever the nature, right? Know your previous project well, or know your current project well. This is going to play a major role in your interview, because this is how you kick off the discussion, right? Hey, tell me about yourself, tell me about what you are doing, right? Tell me about what is your recent project, and or maybe tell me about something you are very much excited to talk, right? Eventually they really want to know one of your work about which you are proud of. Honestly speaking, that's the summary. All these fancy and nice words has only one summary. They want you to start talking about a project, what you are proud of, what you think you really know inside and out, right? So if you really know inside and out, then only you can talk nicely, right? So now here is the second thing what I wanted to mention, right? So now you need to know your project which you are proud of, maybe 1-2 projects, current company, or maybe previous company, doesn't matter. 2-3 projects is good enough to answer various different types of diverse questions, right? It's not a it's easy if you really know inside and out. Okay, now coming back to this, when you start talking about a technical project, right? One of the biggest mistake I think we do, we start talking about the low level information, how we have coded, like maybe infrastructures and all the detailed information people start talking, right? I think about from a human perspective, right? When we start conversation, right, that person, he really don't know your application. So he really want to know the business of your application. What is the purpose? What it does, right? Give them a meaningful explanations of what it does. Maybe in a high level, 2 sentences is fine. 30 seconds explanation is done. I work in this type of application and it does these are the things and this is how people use it. Tell a use case, right? Tell a big picture scenario, right? Of what you have done, not the low level things, not the technical things. Now, whatever role you are in, now we start trying to explain them the technical aspect of the work and then explain them what really you have done, because it is a big project. Maybe you hasn't done 100% of them, you have done a subset of the work, right? 50%, 20%, or 30%, whatever the way you have done. Talk about that. So you talk about your business, what really, like it should be understandable by anyone, a layman or anyone. That's what I usually tell people. That way you can engage someone who is other end, right? They can really comprehend. I have seen in some interviews people start talking like too much details at the very first minute. No, man, I don't work in your company. I didn't work in your company. I didn't work in your team. Now, some interviewer, they are nice. They will just tell you, hey, give a pause. Can you please explain me this thing a little bit nicely? Some interviewer may lose interest if they're not good interviewer. A good interviewer always will try to make you feel comfortable. Always understand this, right? This is how we distinguish between a good interviewer and a bad interviewer, right? Because when you go for interview in a company, you should be considered as a client. You're going someone external. You should be, welcome, even you're doing bad things. You're telling something, very much out of the box, right? Very much not right. We still have to smile. We still have to say, hey, okay, all right, let's move on. Ask this question, right? Now, again, not all the time you'll get this chance. Some people will not give you this chance, right? So you make sure that you tell them a nice story, tell them what your business is, what you do, and then tell the low level informations, right? Talk about the technical details. Again, when you start talking about the technical details, don't jump into low level things. Go to the high level technical details and then jump into the low level, right? So do not start from low level details. No one can understand, no one can capture. Even you think they are software engineers or they're big people, yeah, they can understand, but this will not make sense to them. That's all I'm trying to mean, right? So few things, as I mentioned, right? Know your projects well, know how to talk about your project, and then if that involves a programming challenges, make sure you do your preparations using maybe HackerRank or LeetCode or whatnot. Do your right preparation, right? And also make sure that when you go that type of programming interviews or coding challenges, you know what is their requirement, right? Some company, they will say, we are happy as long as you are writing a meaningful code, right? It does not have to be a syntactically correct. So now you have some option, right? You may not have to remember the particular APIs and all that. But my point is, you get to know what is their requirement, right? Because not every company has the same requirement. So there are two sides. One is you talk about your projects. They may ask in a various different questions about your projects, your achievements, and how you have done these and that. They will dig down and go deep and deep if they really want to. That's one part. And then you have one difficult part, which is maybe passing lead code or programming challenge, right? And that's only practice can help you out. No one can help you out.
I would like to add a point,
Sure.
your see, one of the very common concept is a smart question, a smart response, right? So you are able to state something, you should able to measure something, it should able to have some kind of a value proposition around that. So you need to,
Mm-hmm.
it's a storytelling, but it's a very quantifiable, very meaningful to the person, which you can
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a timely manner. So like you do a smart goals and a smart performance review. Similar way, you need to interview in a smart way where you can able to articulate answer, show what did you do, how does it make an impact,
Mm-hmm.
what was
Mm-hmm.
the return, and how it benefited. And like brother said, don't talk about that I am the only one gonna work, because you are not the only person who is gonna run the whole company. There are 100, 200,000,
Mm-hmm.
5,000, 10,000 people in the company. You say what was your contribution and how you can continue to be a great team player. Maybe not the best engineer, but really somebody who can help run these organization better, who can help your team do a better job. So that's what is a win-win situation, guys. So think about that. Nobody need a superstar here, right? Everybody need a team player, because I don't want to hire a superstar who's going to be my colleague. And think about it, there are going to be a lot of people who's going to be your colleague, who's going to actually interview you, right? So you wanted to make sure you are trying to come as a good player.
Yeah, no, thank you for adding this. So one thing there is a star method, right? That's what people say, the star. So I would be very honest, right? I have done a couple of years interviews and I never actually followed star, right? You can say me, Jahidul, you're dumb. It is true, I am dumb. I just didn't. The day when I found out that star method, one of the recruiter, they suggested me that hey, go follow star method. Make sure that you prepare for it. They will ask you a question that way. And I fully respect that. And then I went and I said, oh, okay, star method. It made me a little bit heavy because I am not a very much theoretical person. So it was hard for me to just keep these words in my brain, right? All I realized is nothing but telling a story, right? It's just a purely a story. You talk about a problem and you talk about what you have done to solve that problem, what was your contribution, and what was the impact. That's all about that, right? So if you are someone struggling like me to remember star method, you think about this. You talk about a problem, you give a solution, you tell them this is a solution, and these are the few tasks you have done in order to do it, and how it impacted people. Like these people can be your internal and external users. It can be anyone. It can be any philosophical problem. It can be a technical problem. It can be a business problem. It doesn't matter. The problem is a problem, right? So you talk about problem, you talk about solution, you talk about the task you have done, you talk about the impact. Pure story, right? So that people can really have a big picture. Again, if someone is really struggling to keep this star in your mind, this is how you can think maybe. That's a small suggestion from me. So let's talk about, job search techniques, right? Now, this in this section, right, there are a couple of concerns we see, right? Why I'm not receiving interviews, right? How can I find the job opportunities that offer H1B sponsorship? Again, I have very limited knowledge on H1B sponsorship, so I will skip this question, but I still kept it in the list because I think someone else may help you out with that answer, maybe some later point as well. How can I develop successful job search strategy? So I wanted to streamline all these questions in one place within few minutes, right? As we have limited time as well. Make sure that you know your targeted companies, right? That's like something you need to really set, right? I know we are applying everywhere. We wanted to get every job, but I think we still need to have our targeted companies because as a person, you know your strength, right? As a person, you know, what you don't know, right? Some companies have very drastically different things, and maybe you are not quite a good fit on that companies. But maybe there are many companies, they may require similar skill set like what you have, but now you really have to find out those companies, right? So my suggestion would be, one of the big suggestion is identifying your strength and identify the companies, those who are hiring people with that similar strength. That's gonna put you a little bit in a better situation in this overly saturated market, right? Now you can ask that, hey, how do I find them, right? You know your areas, right? For example, I can pick an example, right? If you are coming from any of the tech background, right, for development, you have certain area of strength, right? If you go to some companies, 4 or 5 software engineering role, you will see that your skill set is not matching maybe even 40%, right? So if it is not matching 40%, I will apply, but I think that's not a very going to be very successful shot, right? Because it has to be at least a little bit good match, 60-70% match. Maybe 30% you don't know, which is fine, whatever they're asking, but there should be a good match with your skill set and what they're doing, right? Now let's say you are now you keep on searching, right? You keep on searching in every platform possible, right? There are established job platform and there are few other minor startup platform or small platform. So there are few lists we have at the end. You can look at those lists. Also, you can search by your own and get more info from your friends and connections and whatnot. But the basic thing I'm trying to make you understand that, just do not try to grab everything, right? There are more specific thing which aligned with your skill set, right? If you are, for example, if you are a DevOps engineer, you may not have multi-cloud experience, but you have one particular cloud experience, right? So sometimes when you're starting your career, you just find like you have to grab all jobs, honestly speaking, you do not have experience in all clouds. Why you have to go for multi-cloud experience companies? You go ahead with your strength, right? So try to find those jobs, those companies, they're heavily relying on your skill set. So you are putting yourself a little bit ahead of the game, right? So when you search, make sure that you find your compatible things as close as possible. It doesn't mean that I'm not encouraging you to apply things which you have 50% or 40% match. You do, but make sure you do your search to have a little bit better match, right? And then again, all those a few things we mentioned earlier, right? Make sure your network knows you are looking for job. Make sure you have that you are open for work. That's open. Make sure you really reach out to the people you have spoken in the past. Maybe you have started a job 2 years ago or 1 year ago, and you had 10 recruiters. You had good relationship. Try to find out the communication and email, and then through that email just send them another email, right? Reply on that, hey, hi, how are you, what's up, I'm back in market, and can you help me out to find one more job, or can you help me out to show something, right? Those are meaningful connections you have made throughout your experience, right? Common thing is, search on these platforms, find out your compatibility, your right match, and also make sure you reach out to your old recruiting connections, HR connections, or maybe talent acquisition connections through email, right? Or if possible, phone. I think nowadays no one likes to take big phone, but email is the better thing to do. Email or maybe a LinkedIn, based on whatever industry you are in, right? So I would say that's a very basic summary on job search techniques. There is nothing extraordinary you can do. There is nothing extraordinary you can do, unfortunately. There are one trick you can do when you do job search, right? Try to find out the right person who posted that job. If it is posting in LinkedIn, if it is posted by someone within the company, even you can reach out to that person. Some cases, but some people, they don't like it, right? They will say, hey, go ahead and apply. But some people are nice, because now you have chance to get connected with them through LinkedIn, and then you can maybe pass them some more information. Maybe you can pass them some more suggestions, or some details about you, right? What you are, right? You may have a little bit more privilege than 50 resumes that person received through advertisement in LinkedIn or some other job post, right? So if you can do those type of things in this current market, it can help you out to do something better. So career transition and advancement, right? So we have received few questions like that. What steps should I take to enter the tech field? I think it's a very generic question. I can highlight in few minutes on that. How can I transition to project management role to a technical positions, and then how can I find senior leadership roles? I'm not in senior leadership, so am I appropriate person to answer? No. Maybe yes, right? From the recruiting standpoint, right? When we really talk to these big people, right? BPs, CTOs, and directors, and maybe some company CEOs, right? We also try to have option open for us to have that type of executive hires, right? Maybe I can give a slight things from my understanding in the recruiting side of the business that may help. So I'll talk about that, at least few lines on that. So I wanted to add in these sections, one of the brother, he asked a question in the past. I'm working as a desktop support engineer. I want to move towards cybersecurity career plan, please, right? So these are, I think this falls under this section, right? Career transition and advancement. So let's start with the basic one, right? If you want to start in tech, is this a right time? That's something sometimes you may have to ask, right? Yes, I think there is no right time and wrong time, but this time is little harder, right? It doesn't mean that you sit down and you never make an attempt, right? Because there are areas, there are things still extremely in demand, and it is hard to find a right fit for those, right? So you can definitely plan for that, but before you plan to move into tech, right? Try to have a big picture of tech. Try to understand various roles and responsibilities, what they do, what type of technology they have to learn, and what is the future, right, looks like after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, where you will end up, right? Because there are different roles. There are software engineering. Under software engineering, there are many roles, right? Some people might be specialized in A, B, or C, or D. So you may have to find those interests that where you really belongs. That's one thing. So exploring different route is number one suggestion I always make people. Just don't commit on how to do, right? So first figure out what to do, right? Don't just like go ahead and sign up a program and learn, right? Make sure make sure you have a better understanding on what you are going to choose. If you need help from someone who is in the field, experienced, a good mentor or good coach, your brother, your friends or whatnot, who has good knowledge over industry, right? Who can also do mentoring. Some people, they have good knowledge, but they may not be a right mentor, good mentor, because coaching people, guiding people may not be, it may not be a job for everyone. So you have to find your right person to talk, really have a close discussion that, hey, what can I do, right? In my opinion, as I said, you go ahead, discover all these roles, 5, 6, 10 tech roles, right? And see what they do and what is the future, right? There's something one, right? Usually I tell one more thing to people, right? So there are very simple way to define in tech. There are few roles which is technical. There are many roles which is non-technical, right? Including business analyst, and there are few roles, project management roles, which is not purely technical, right? So if you are someone interested in to go to that route, you can go. So you have to now branch it out, right? If you want to go to technical, then find out what the technical role, right? Dev roles, operations role, a security role, or maybe data roles and things like that. Within that, there might be some purely development, and there might be some purely security, like cyber security, or maybe there might be something, data science or data analytics, that area, right? So you might be a person coming from, let's say you have learned your statistics and all that in the past, maybe in college or university, or maybe you are in some sorts of that type of research background. Maybe you can go into data analysis, data analytics, that type of route, right? But this is not my suggestion or recommendation I'm making. I'm trying to tell you that how should you navigate, right? So you sort out these branches, go to your desired branches. No, I want to really build things. I love building things, right? So try to get into any of these development role, right? It could be purely front-end developer or back-end developer or DevOps engineer, or maybe a cybersecurity engineer, or maybe QA engineer. Again, the market is definitely a little bit tough for them, but find out any of these things which makes you feel excited and which gonna help you to achieve your dream goal, right? You definitely have a goal, right? What you want to achieve. So that way you sort out that, okay, I'm gonna choose now these two role, and then now give deep dive. When I say deep dive, it is still not how to do. Do not start how to do. Deep dive means get to know now more details that what you really have to know and how much you have to know in order to start your first job, right? Is it something makes you excited? If it doesn't make you excited, even it gives you $1 million, I would suggest stay away. Do something what makes you feel better, and you can still earn money and live, have shelter and eat food, right? Don't do something which really doesn't makes you feel excited, because in tech you will have to continuously learn. It's not like you learn something today and you forget. And if this learning doesn't come out of your interest and enjoyment, don't do it. You're gonna be frustrated, right? It's gonna be hard for you to continue. So these are few basic stuffs before even start learning, right? So decide what to do, not how to do. How to do, everyone knows. If you want to be a software engineer, front-end developer, people can give you a bunch of checklists. Do this. If you can learn by yourself, you may take help of a coach, depending on what type of person you are. Some people, they're good at self-learning. Some people, they need help from other people, right? So if you say, I want to do this, it's something like that, right? When you go to a doctor, right? Doctor is going to diagnose your problem before they give you medicine, right? So career is something like that. You have to identify the area you want to really explore, but with proper guidance, right? Sometimes as a fresher, you really struggle to find out right spot, right? So that's where you need to be connected with someone you trust, someone has knowledge and experience to really coach and guide, right? If you don't trust, I think the relationship is broken, right? So make sure you find those type of people within your circle, maybe anywhere. Then make sure you have that process in place where you can find out what you are interested to do before you commit what to do. Okay, what to do is easy work once you know, right? I want to, this is a very passion. This question is something I always like to answer. I really love this question. And I am a strong advocate of deciding what to do and investing enough time to what to do before starting your journey, right? So for example, if you have to go to a top of a mountain, the kind of preparation you will take, if you go to a flat land, your preparation will be different. Some people, they're committed to go to the mountain. they want to see the view, they want to see that they have that excitement, they will commit for it because they know their goal. They will do the hard work. They will not feel like, oh, okay, I have done a mistake and I have made a bad choice. But if a weak person really don't want that excitement, mistakenly choosing that rough path, they're gonna be frustrated. So if you know your passes, ahead of time, you know where you are going and where it will take you, you will definitely be well prepared when you start doing, how to do, right? So that's like a, I would say a very end-to-end suggestion for me when you make a career choice. um, so usually for TPMs or project managers, this is again the good part is you have industry knowledge. You have worked in an industry. You have done some form of work within the industry. You understand software development lifecycle. I am assuming if you are within the development industry, software development industry, or maybe whatever the industry you are in. So you have a close connections with technical people, right? You have been listening and seeing and whatnot, right? Now you have your area of interest. You may have seen that, hey, some dev work is very interesting. I wanted to pursue that route. Or some this work is very interesting. I wanted to pursue. So I would say when you are already a technical when you are already a manager role, right, a project manager role, invest some time on learning something you find excitement. Learn something which you find excitement, which has a good future. You also have to be able to predict whatever you are trying to learn now, is it going to persist next 5, 6, 10 years? If you cannot predict that, you are now in a big problem, right? You just don't want to learn something for 2 years. And after 2, 3 years, there is no demand of that, right? So you have to really understand that part a little bit better. Now, again, you may not know by yourself. Make sure you talk to someone who knows, right? That would be like my suggestion. So while you are at work, have a parallel plan to learn those few stops where by learning those, you can put in your resume that, hey, I have learned this and that. Now let's make a move, right? In this type of case, many cases you can do internal move. If you're in a current company, you can show your interest that, hey, I have learned this and this and this, and after 6 months or 7 months, this is my career goal. I would like to move into a dev role or DevOps role or cybersecurity role or data, whatever the role you are choosing, right? So you can really have this plan with your leadership, right? And then your leadership can help you out to navigate. A good company will always do it. A good company will always cooperate and help you to navigate. But you definitely have to have a right reputation and right connections. Usually there should be the right culture, but some company doesn't have this culture, unfortunately. Some good companies, they have this culture, okay? So they will help you to transit. So that would be your first choice. If you cannot make an internal move, then you have to come outside, right? Search everywhere job the way you would have searched your project manager job. Then see what happens for you, right? All I'm saying, have your own learning mechanism. Learn something which quantifiable, which is meaningful, which is impactful. Learn something which is going to give you value for next few days and months and years, not just like one time, right? And you definitely have to find that excitement and interest in it. That's extremely important, right? Some people will say, hey, go learn AI. But what is AI? What you will learn? You have to define it, right? And from where to start, what to do, right? It's not just like you should not be in a you should not run behind some you should not, this is an illusion, right? So you need to make sure that you do not have that type of illusion. You have a right and clear mindset that what you are doing and why you are doing. For leadership roles, right, there are few. For leadership role, I would say, like, I have seen there are few websites where these roles are on and off coming in, right? Like there is a website called ladders.com. You can set your salary there. You can say, hey, my salary expectations is 300 or 400, and I'm only looking for director level role or VP level role, right? That kind of help you to find a good roles. Usually you don't find it in a regular situation. And again, if you are just trying to have your fast leadership role, then I think your own company is the right choice. But sometimes it becomes very hard to get promotion in your own company. So I think in your resume, you need to have enough credentials to display when you really start talking about this to some other companies. If it doesn't happen in your company, you may have to have a jump, right? And also maybe other thing people can do, building something on the side by themselves. And And if you build something on the side by yourself, and that can be also a right credential saying that, hey, this is something I built from the scratch. And this is something, when I say I'm not only talking about development, it can be building an entire team somewhere, right? A project somewhere, which shows your leadership capability, right? As you become more senior, you are actually looking for, those leadership roles, right? So I think that type of things someone can do. Uh, but I personally do not like leadership role. Just to give you opinion, I feel like it's too much pressure for a person, right? But again, there are people has different choices, right? I have seen in Amazon we have people like many days in the same role. They're not moving into leadership just because they don't want to take more load. But those who are excited, those who really want to do that, they can definitely step up and do the needful, right? So again, moving on to the next, for desktop support engineer, right? I want to move towards cybersecurity career plan, please. So again, if you're in a desktop engineer and you wanted to go cybersecurity, right, just invest some time on cybersecurity learning, right? If this is something you need to understand, cybersecurity is outside the umbrella of code development, right? Security is definitely a core component of development, but it is not building a real softwares, right? Now that's how you need to ask yourself that what makes you excited, because the term cybersecurity is very hot nowadays, right? It's very popular. Security is a very big thing. Definitely, there is zero doubt, right? I'm a skit at Amazon. I'm a I'm someone heavily involved in security stuff within my role as well. Although my role or designation doesn't mean that a security engineer. So I'm very much interested in this route, and I'm involved at my work as well. So I appreciate that you have that intention to jump into cybersecurity, but I want you to invest some time and identify this is something right for you to do. If you think this is something right for you to do, start making a conversation with cybersecurity professional. Please ping me. I'll add you in a cybersecurity professional group. There is a Muslim cybersecurity professional group. I can add you there if you're not there. There are many CISO and there are many good engineers there in cybersecurity field. That can be very much helpful for you in terms of making your next move. But you should do your initial work. Why you want to do it? What really you wanted to learn? What other people are learning? You should do your homework before even you start talking to a cybersecurity professional with regards to your plan. That will make other person excited to give you suggestion and time, that okay, this person has invested time and this is what he's interested in and this is what he has done in the past. Let me give half an hour of my time and explain him something more. So that would be like, do your own homework before even you start wanted to talk to any cybersecurity professional. But please feel free to ping me in LinkedIn or anywhere. Then you will be able to. I can definitely connect you with those groups if you are not still there. Market insight and job fit, right? So when we say market insight, right, we are trying to talk about the current market situation. I want to take a pause here, and I want to tell you guys something. I think many of you understand this. I'm gonna be focusing on question number 2. Many of these questions I have talked in a little bit different way, but this number 2 I hasn't spoken in a structured manner as of now. I think this is extremely important for you and me, for everyone to understand. So people are saying, many of you are trying to even get a phone call. You are struggling to get a phone call, right? You are struggling to even get some response in email, right? What's happening here, right? Let's take let's try to understand what really happened. There are few things happening. Some of the things is within your control, some of the things is not within your control. I would say bulk of the things is out of your control, right? Out of our control, in other words, right? So what are they, right? See, during pandemic, all these large companies, small companies, there are many companies that had a great growth. They hired like crazy, right? Especially in the area of tech, right? And also there are new companies, new technologies. People try to experiment and things like that during pandemic. So there were a really good number of jobs, and some company very aggressively hired during that time. Now, when pandemic was over, they didn't see the right growth. They expected X amount. They have seen X minus Y amount of growth. They are still not lost, but they were not seeing the projected growth. So the company wide, they started, because that's the easiest way to cut down people. So they did layoffs. Still layoff is happening. You may have heard that Tesla laid off 14% of their, 40,000 of their employees, right? So the layoff, due to that, over hiring, they started laying off. So that's one thing. And again, is it very much logical or is it ethical? This is a different argument. I'm just trying to talk about the fact. So whatever the reason, over hiring or whatnot, they started laying off now after the pandemic, right? That's one factor. Number two factor is what? There is a conflict going on. We all are fully aware, right? So the conflict also having some impact in terms of jobs. Maybe there are some statement where government is, they're saying that there are really, good growth in the jobs and whatnot, but it is very hard to trust when you are on the ground. When I say on the ground, when you are actively working with candidates, those who are trying to get job, when you are actively working with hiring managers, this is on the ground news. It's extremely bad situation. Not every company, some companies are definitely hiring, there are good jobs. What is the problem then? So let me just talk about this, the reasons, right? The root cause. The root cause is layoff. The saturated market. We have more people. We have graduates and fresh graduates. We have laid off candidates, and the market, like if there are 10 jobs now, there are like maybe 20 people is there, right? So there are more competitions now. If you are like trying to start, if you are mid-level, some people even going a little bit less salary, they don't have problem to go 10,000 or 20,000 less and then get a job at least, right? They're more experienced, so the competition is high. More people, less job. That's a simple math. Now all of this is out of our control. We cannot control the financial situations, then war, conflict at Gaza and whatnot, right? What we can do, we can tune ourselves. If I am 3 months in the job market or 5 months in the job market, whenever you are in a job market, make a plan that, hey, maybe I'm not going to get a job in 3 months or 4 months. This is my week by week plan to achieve this skill which is in demand, what people are really looking for. Have a strict plan for yourself. If you have to consult with someone that, hey, I am in this role and I wanted to have more weapons in my pocket. What should I do? What should I learn? And I'm interested in ABCD. I would say, like, some good people, those who has good understanding in career path, they can guide you based on you and based on your situation, because every person is different. Every person desire is different. Capabilities are different, right? So make sure when you go job market, you actually level up yourself. That is something you can for sure do and you should do, because there are still crises in some role, right? I'm a witness of that. I'm talking about real fact, not just my opinion, right? There are roles we have seen 5 months opened, 5 months, team cannot hire. They have interviewed 10, 15 people, right? The members, like, they're not getting the highest board to be hired. They're not meeting the standard. So what's the problem? So it shows, it shows there is a significant crisis of a right people with right skill set in many roles, in many job roles or tech roles, right? So if you are in a market or planning to go to market, make sure you have that plan. That's like one thing you can definitely do. Rest of the things are common, right? What we already spoke, activate all your connections. So activate all of your connections, right? Let everyone know that you are hunting for jobs and reach out to the right people, right, within your connection, because they are your first line of defense. They can help you out. And then maybe start doing the regular things, right? Job search and whatnot. I hope that gives you a clear idea, right? What we can do, what we cannot do. We cannot deal with those big things, right? Financial issues and things like that. We cannot change a company saying that, hey, don't lay off, hire us. We can't do that. We can only level up, hunt more, look more, increase our connections, and try our best, right? It's your risk. If you have it, you will get it. Have that confidence and trust. But your job is to do your work, what you can do. What you cannot do, let it be taken care of by the superpower, right? By Almighty. We just don't take care of them, right? We do within our ability, right? So that's, I think, more or less about job market. That's all I wanted to focus in this section. Just don't be hopeless. Don't be just like, stick to what you are doing, right? If you have a minimum means to live, maybe your shelter, your food, and then you wanted to really get a little bit better salary, struggling, just make sure that you spend day and night to scale up and present them in your resume. let people know this is what you have learned and this is what you are capable of doing. You will get your traction, you will get something.
Yeah, Jahidul bhai, I'm trying to come in as well. I think we also have a few of our talent acquisition team member who's part of our group here and very active. I also see Zafar bhai, you have also just joined. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Alaikum salam. Zafar Bhai is also one of the very active, talent acquisition leader in this space, has been helping people a lot. So feel free to also reach out and connect with all the recruiting leaders and talent acquisition managers and leaders. They can help you navigate and guide through that. Zafar Bhai, you want to add any comments?
No, I just got the invitation a little while ago, but thank you for this presentation. This is very informative, and I'm learning a lot. I have a free career session every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central, and I talk about how to get into the big tech companies. I've worked for Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, all of them. If anyone wants to join those sessions, it's every Friday at 5 p.m. Central. I share leadership principles, core competencies, skills about how to get into the big tech companies and how to negotiate the best compensation package. As Muslims, a lot of us struggle about, statistically, women take the first offer that is given to them. Men tend to negotiate 3 times before they take the first offer. So I teach them little tricks about offer negotiations, how to get the best packages in terms of compensation, sign-on bonus, 401k, stock options, and all of that stuff. So little tricks that I've learned in my 25-year career and that I'd love to share with anybody. So again, I'll share the link in here in the chat window if anyone wants to join. But this is a fantastic presentation, and I applaud the brothers and the sisters who are behind this. This is a commendable effort, mashallah.
Thank you so much, Zafar Bhai. And yeah, definitely please share it here and also, in the WhatsApp group at the Austin Muslim Tech. And inshallah, a lot more people will be able to benefit from your deep knowledge and industry experience, especially with the talent acquisition area. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for chipping in, and I'll be glad to be in your session. I saw it on Thursday, so yeah, we'll try to have some time to come there someday to learn from you.
Absolutely, I'm gonna put the information in the chat window here shortly. Thank you.
So much.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you're welcome.
And Jahidul bhai, almost at time, but I do wanted to address a specific thing. Especially like, I see if you have first time searching for a job, or maybe you have not in a job market for last 5, 10 years, I see people come to a WhatsApp group and drop the information saying, hey, this is my resume. Let me know if there is any job for me. Uh, I wish I would know every single job which is open in my company, and everybody else would have known what are the job in my company. Unfortunately, that does not happen, right? So how you find a job, and I want to take a minute and address that.
Sure.
For you, the most important thing, everything, brother has covered, right? You apply those specific tricks and do's and don'ts. But if you are looking for a job, definitely go and put your search alert into LinkedIn based on your skill set and some of the other job site, whether it's a local job site or international job site, depend upon your desire. And then if you find a job, spend like couple of hours every day if you're actively in a market to find a job and whatnot, or every week slot some time to first search for a job. And if you find a good job, tailor your resume to those job description. There are a lot of website which brother has covered where you can able to do that. But then, what you wanted to do is go to your LinkedIn, go to our database which we have created, and there are multiple groups like that where people have created their database. Go and see if anybody work in that company. And if there is a person who's work in that company, you want to ping that person and say, hey, I saw this job in your company. Would you able to refer it to me? And please reach out to them before applying. Do not reach out to them after applying, because a lot of company, they have to refer you. If you already apply that, they can't do anything. So that is like the key thing. You don't want it to just throw your resume and say, hey, is there a job for me? You wanted to do your homework and reach out to a person for a referral. And in most cases, and Zafar Bhai and I can confirm, uh, a person coming through the reference, and 50% chances there is a that at least
Get an
is
interview.
gonna scan your resume, right? If they're not interview, like in 100% case, they'll look at your resume. In 50% chance, they will at least a recruiter will call you to figure out, and you may or may not go to the manager round. But that automatically improve your chances to get into job by 90% because all the ATS system, and I have been working in all the HR platform for 30 plus years now. Uh, Everything is now AI based. Everything do skill matching based on job requirement. It gives the score to the recruiter, and they figure out if it's not in the top 5-10%. They don't want it to waste going through 400 resume and see whether to find you or not. So please, more to come. We will have few more in session like this. You can apply, attend the Zafar Bhai session and few more we're gonna be sharing with. And please, please do not drop your resume and ask for a job. Please do your due diligence and reach out to the right people. Anything you want to add, Zafar Bhai or Janal Bhai, please do so.
I was just going to add. I know you're at time. In my experience, just randomly applying to websites does not have the desired effect. A lot of times, those applications just go into a giant black hole. Recruiters, and I know this because I worked on the corporate recruiting side. I really looked at applications. I really looked at the portal, the applicant tracking system, only when my hiring manager or somebody who was a referral said that, hey, Nazir Siddiqui applied for this position for job number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go in and pull out his resume and let me take a look at it. And that's when we would go into the system and look at it. But oftentimes, thousands and thousands of applications just go into a black hole. Now, keep in mind, there's a couple of factors here. Oftentimes, corporate companies will keep a requisition open because they're harvesting resumes. They don't have an actual position that's open. They don't have the budget for it. They just want to collect and harvest resumes. So they want to see you apply. When those requisitions get budgeted, when they go live, that's when they'll reach out to you. Second, they've already identified that they want to hire Nazir Siddiqui for the position. Nazir has met the hiring manager. He's met the team. He's already had coffee with them. But according to government regulations, restrictions, they're required to open a requisition, keep it open for about five days to 2 weeks, and then make an offer because it's government regulations. It's statutory regulations. So oftentimes they've already identified an internal candidate or an external candidate, and by law they're required to keep a requisitions open. But those are phantom requisitions. They don't actually exist because they've already identified that Nazir Siddiqui is their guy. They want to hire this individual, and they just keep it open. So there's a lot of factors here that you guys should be aware of. So we on the corporate side know about these things, and I share these little trade secrets on those Thursday calls so that you're aware that I'm not just randomly applying. Oh, I've applied to 1,000 different places and I'm not getting a call back because it's just going to a black hole. So Nazarbai's advice to find the team that you want to get into at Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Netspend, Google, whatever. Find the people on LinkedIn, connect with them, ask them to refer, and oftentimes these companies have a referral bonus, meaning that if this individual refers Nazarbai for the position, if Nazarbai gets the job, gets the interview, whatever, if they get hired, 60 days later they'll get a direct deposit amount sent into their bank account, whether it's $500 or $5,000 at Amazon. It ranged from 3,500 to 5,000. You would get that money in that account. I know one guy who made 60 referrals, and every referral he got thousands and thousands of dollars. He put his kids through his college fund through referral bonuses. That's a lot of money that you can collect through referral bonuses. So you should feel incentivized that if I can get this individual refer, they are going to be incentivized financially, and I have a 50% better chance of getting a phone call or an interview than if I were just to apply to an applicant tracking system.
So one question is, what position is still competitive, attractive in the software development 5 years from now if I consider switching job roles? Example, FE, BE, DevOps, project manager. So again, one thing definitely, instead of focusing on the role, a role I think is better to focus on the technology, right? If you can really focus on, I would say like, AI indefinitely in rise, but when you say about AI, there are a lot of things related here, right? It's just not like a one piece. There are many components, right? So if you are like in a mid level, maybe you have never been exposed to cloud, or you never been exposed to those cool technologies, it's better to make your hands dirty in that area, right? Especially, I would highly promote you to have a better knowledge in cloud platform to certain areas. If it is in the AI space, AI space. If it is in the regular software development space, in that space, because that's gonna be, this is in the rise, it will be in the rise for next good amount of time, and then you branch it out, right? You identify, hey, I would like to understand these 10 more technologies, and I wanted to cache them, and then make a better choice in coming days, right? So instead of focusing on a certain role, focus on technologies, focus on which is in demand technologies, in other word, right? And then adjust it or equip it with your current role, or maybe slightly different role, right? That would be like my opinion, right? It's not the role, it's about technology, it's about skill set you learn, right? Because the role can be dead at some point, right? Not every role will be here forever. Always understand this fact in a very, very well, right? At some, like, there were some role, now it is not here, right? There were no role called DevOps, now there is a role called DevOps, but at some point this will also dry out. So you have to know how to transit between different situations as the time moves, right? So again, focusing on technology, I would be like my suggestions, and cloud platform would be the right place, because cloud platform has everything in it, right? Every form of technologies are there. If you have a good command over certain areas, that's your foundation, and then now branch it out, explore the area you really like to do, right? You will never be in one area for 2 years or 3 years. You will lose your interest, so you will always move right and left within those technology area, right? So that's what I would say, like, in terms of competitive or attractive, whatnot you mentioned in the question. Going back to these are a few things we discussed. If we talk about professional development and other concerns, right? That's Jeffrey, he mentioned about promotion and the negotiating salaries, right? Definitely, I encourage you guys to join Jeffrey's session. I hasn't joined. I will try to join someday. But again, I wanted to talk about this in a very clear and concise manner, right? The companies has money. You just really don't have idea how much budget they make and how much money people are making on top of you, right? So there are options, right? But you just need to understand what is your ceiling, right? How much you can negotiate. Should you accept whatever they're saying, or there is a way to talk about the numbers, right? I think negotiation is an art, right? If you know this art, in some cases the difference can be extremely high, right? From my experience, I know that difference can be extremely high, right? For example, there are cases you can increase your salary by 10 to 20%. It sounds like what you were talking about, 20%, 25%. Some people are more smart, like they're smarter, they can make it more, right? So there is a different way. It is an art, right? So it is something you really need to learn over time. In my case, always I try to understand, like, in general, let's talk about in general, if you are dealing with a salary negotiation, right? Always look for a range from the opponent, right? From your recruiter or whoever is negotiating with you the numbers. Ask them their highest range, right? And then always try to reach their highest range if you think you are competent enough, right? That would be like my maybe plus minus something within the highest range based on who you are, right? Some people has a little bit weak nerve, because when you start negotiation, it is a little bit, you'll get a lot of pressure, because you need a job and you don't want it to wait. You feel like they will discard you because of your numbers. Usually no company will discard you if you are not like extremely hard on what you are expecting. If you're expecting something what you deserve, you can definitely make that point and continue negotiation until they keep the door open, right? At some point they will say, hey, this is my hard stop, I cannot go more than 200K or 300K. That's it. That's the highest ceiling, right? So in that case, you don't push hard, right? You be nice and you be flexible, right? This is what you expect, right? And you definitely do not have to expose what you have learned or earned or in the past, right? So again, it is really an art. I don't think so this few minutes can really help you to tell you this thing, but in simple, when you start negotiating the numbers, ask for the range and go to the highest range you think you are competent enough. and you can look for the similar range in there are a number of places you can ask people. There are a number of I forgot those websites name. I hasn't put those names, but you may find in our WhatsApp group, Najib, I think someday they shared. There are role-based salaries, right? You can identify how much they give in that company, right? And there are some data in the Indeed and other platform as well, company-wide data. So you can also look into that, have some understanding, and then start negotiating from that numbers.
Yeah,
That's like
level.fii is the company,
okay.
website where you can find most of the job
Yeah.
level and the salary ranges for large company. But as part of like Denver and California with the recent laws, which is effective as of January, most of the company are now supposed to, post the salary ranges along with the job requisition. And most of the California-based tech companies are doing regardless of the location, whether it is in New York or whether it's in Texas or whether it is in California. So you definitely get a good idea to start with what is the salary range is going to be. And as per law, they cannot ask you what is your current salary. So never tell your current salary. See what is the salary range, and you can start from there. And I think in the Zafar session, you will learn a lot of do's and don'ts. So we'll leave it for him to cover those areas.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for chipping in. Yeah. So like people always, there's, when people are in extreme need of work, they feel like, oh, I'm getting 100K. It's okay. I can pay my bill, have some money, expenses and whatnot. But no, like, so you deserve that money. That's the value of your brain, right? You need to understand what is the value of your brain, based on the time, situation, and wherever you are staying at this point. Negotiate according to that. Have that courage to negotiate, right? And 10%, 20% in a scale of 200K, you are actually getting 20, 25, 30,000 more money. Why not, right? It's not a small money, right? People, you deserve that money. Okay, all right. How can I overcome shyness and nervousness in professional settings, right? I think it's all about your practice. It's all about, I would say this is how I think you can start. If you're at home, pick a pencil. If you have a pencil, pick a pencil. Talk about this pencil 5 minutes on camera. Turn on your camera, record it, and then talk 5 minutes, turn off the camera, and again see what mistake you are making, right? You might be very good at, in your language, but you may have some form of inertia. You may not know from where to start and how to start, right? That can be some form of problematic thing. So see your errors and problems, try to rectify. Again, take a shoot, talk. I think that's the right way to do. And then start talking to your friends and family members outside, maybe you're a little bit outside the circle, right? And maybe pick a topic, explain them something. Maybe if you're too shy, start really coaching others. That is another way to break your shyness, right? Maybe you have learned something new, and then you can pick, hey, I wanted to explain you this, right? Do you have 10 are you interested in it? Just talk about that, right? I think that's another way to come out of that. So you really have to make your own effort. There is no, I don't think so anyone can give you some very good formula to do that. But again, talk about things you believe, talk about things you know, right? And then revisit what you have spoken, right? If you can revisit properly and take a note and then take a shot, this is how you will learn, right? Talk when you're driving, talk when you're walking. People may tell you bad, but if you do it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months over the time, you will see, oh no, I can talk literally about anything. Give me a headphone, give me anything you see in front, you can really talk about it, right? You do not have to really lie, but can you start a conversation? Can you continue the conversation? You will see you can. Okay. It's all about, I think, practice. It's all about, kicking that fear out of your heart and telling yourself that no, I can do it. And no matter, like, you don't have to judge who is in front of you. Many cases you feel shy because you think, who is in front of me, and you think like, hey, these people knows more than me, and these people in that position and that position, and I'm a small guy. There is no small and big guy. That is a human. That person is the person who is sitting in front of you is a human, and you're a human too, right? So no one is judging you that way, right? So take that things out of your head, right? With whom you're talking, don't consider that. Consider you are talking about what. That makes you feel more confident, I believe. I think we discussed about this a couple of times. So we are almost towards the end. I think we have one more specific challenges and request. I think we spoke about, like, this is more psychological, I would say. What should I focus on when I can't find a job, right? I think remaining mentally strong is important, right? You have initiated all your process, all these things we have discussed, or all these things you have learned in the past. You have done everything, nothing is happening. Have faith on Almighty, right? This is his decision. It's not my decision or your decision. You are making effort, and definitely there is something in it, right? There is some good in it, right? So I would say, like, if you go back to your faith and a very, very core faith, a basic faith, right? Whatever happening with you, that I think the right thing to happen in life, and you just don't know the reason. I just don't know the reason, right? I'm talking to you here and I just don't know why I'm talking, right? Maybe I do not have exactly reason, but Almighty knows why I'm here, and definitely it may bring something good for me, maybe for some of you, right? I just don't know, right? So just, like, don't lose hope, right? If you are skilled, apply all the techniques we discussed, apply all the mechanism you have learned, and just let it be, right? It's not on you. When you will get job, how will get job, it's not on you. Just have this faith really, really well, right? Maybe you never imagined to earn this much money. You may end up with a job which is giving you double. And it is truth. I have seen it in many cases, many people's cases, right? So have the trust, do your work. That's all I said. You can only do your work. You cannot control what is not within your control, right? Why I am not, selected for interviews, or why do I not receive offers even when interviews goes well, right? I think few factors Jafar I already mentioned. It's not actually you. It's about many cases you are qualified. Many cases just situation is not in favor of you. Many cases. So not always you are the reason. Some cases maybe you are the reason. And that's normal, right? But many cases you are not the reason. I hope that makes sense, right? There are multiple factors, but always you can seek for feedback. That I usually, like, they may not give you a detailed feedback, but sometimes some recruiters, some people, they will give you some insight. Hey, this area they didn't find you good, right? So go back, make sure you don't do these things next time, right? And in my opinion, every interview you go, you definitely take a note what went wrong in your opinion, then try to rectify this next. So if you do it 10, 20, 30, at some point you'll be very perfect person. So that would be my suggestion. So again, as I mentioned earlier, work authorization and visa issues, especially H-1B and other stuff, is not my area of expertise, so I will skip. But I kept these questions for here, but feel free to reach out in the group, ask our brothers. Some of us will definitely reply on that. So these are few sites I was referring to. Many of them are startup. Why I advocate for startup is because when you are looking for when you're a fresher, there is a good chance you may end up with those companies, right? They move very quick, they hire quick, they also fire quick, but it has high risk, but I think at some point you may gain something. But again, all the known sites, so I haven't listed them here. I'm towards the end of the session. Thank you for being here. Is there any last moment question from any of you?
Okay, if not, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your joining in today. As I mentioned, I'll be sending you a feedback form. Please take a couple of minutes to complete that.
Got it. Thank you. Nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, guys? If not, thank you so much. Have a great Saturday evening and rest of the weekend. I wish you all very best with your first time job search or advancement in your career. As we said, the market has been a little bit tight, a lot of layoffs happening, but do not lose the hope. Okay. Also believe in the power of dua. Make a lot of duas to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, the right thing will come for you, what is written for you, inshallah, along with your hard work, right techniques and tricks, and continuous thriving into this.
Yeah.
With that, I'll say Assalamu alaikum. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum.